Hello everyone and welcome to this video on Microsoft Excel. And we've been focusing on formulas that we use in financial modeling. And today we're going to look at yet another function and how we can implement it in formulas. So the previous video looked at how we could use the index function for such scenario modeling. And if you recall, we were able to see that we could pick any option from the list here, and then our scenario changes and it is implemented as an assumption. So today we're going to look at an improvement over what we did in the previous video. And what we said that it would have been nice if users can see these names and choose from these names, and then that would also change whatever we want to use in our assumptions. So to do that, we'll be using the function called the match function, And let me just show you what the match function does before we go and implement it in here. So the match function, here it tells us that it returns the relative position of an item in an array that matches a specified value in a specified order. Now, even if you don't understand that one, implementing this would help you understand what they are trying to say here. So we're going to implement it, and then we have three inputs or arguments to the function: the lookup value, the lookup array, and then the match type. So what would be the lookup value? Well, we intend to put a lookup value here in this cell. So, but for now, I'm going to pick the cell just by the side of it as our lookup value. So we put a comma, and then what's our lookup array? We're going to pick all of this. That's our lookup array, and comma, what is the match type? Almost often you would be using 0. Exact match, because you want to match exactly what you've chosen, and then you want it to be implemented. So we're going to be using an exact match, and that means we just need to bring in 0 here. We type in 0 there, and then close our bracket and hit our enter button. We will get it not available because we've not done anything here. We've not put anything here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to reference any of these rates, like the max rate. The max rate returns 1 for us. What does that mean? It simply means that this range we selected for the match function, it has 3 rows, but 1 column. 1 column, 3 rows. And that if we put in the if we reference the max rate in our match function, it's going to tell us the position it is in this range. So in this range, it is the first item in this range. So if we were to reference the base rate, you will see it gives us 2, meaning that it's the second item in the range that we referenced. Surely you know what it would be if we were to use the mean rate. It's going to return 3 because 3 is the last in the list in the range that we referenced when building the match function. So this is what the match function does. It tells us that it returns a number, and when we look at that number, we see that it is the relative position within the range that we have specified and chosen. So instead of having the mean, max rate or base rate here, we want to have it in here. So what I'm going to do is I would just do some changes to this. So we have a data validation cell here. We go to data validation and then data validation again. So we see that we previously selected a list, and then this source here is looking at these 3 rows. So we're not going to use this. We want to use this one. So we want to use that so that whenever we select options, we'll be selecting max rate, base rate, or min rate. So we just okay that. And so that means when we click this button, down arrow, what we are going to see is no longer 1, 2, or 3, but we have max, base, and min. So I'm going to take the max. And just as you would expect, we have the error message, the value error message here. Yes, because it is not seeing a value. The index function requires a value here. It requires either 1, 2, or 3 to function, but now it's seeing the max rate here. But we'll take care of that soon. So having done that, all we need to do is update our index function. So since the formula here is able to give me 1, 2, or 3 based on whatever I select here, I'm going to take this formula just as we've written it. Without the equal to sign, we're going to take it, copy it, and we'll go to the index formula. We know that this E22 should be a value, and that's the value we're trying to bring in with the match function. So we're going to take this out and then paste the match function inside it. So we paste the match function and then we hit our enter. So you can see it returns 4 for us. But there are still some things we need to fix in this formula before it works perfectly for us. So we can copy it down. Let's go back to the formula. Notice that the match function is referencing this range. And the range is relative here. So if we copy down to our right hand side, we are going to have errors. So we need to fix the column identity. We want it to be looking at this column, even if we copy across columns to the right. So what we're going to do is select that range reference and hit our F4 button, 1, 2, and 3. So 3 will give us a $sign behind the column identities, and that means that we've made the column identities absolute. Still, the reference, the match reference, no longer should look at this point. We want to move it to look at this point. And because it's here, again, we want all of these cells to be looking at this column. So we need to come to this reference and also use our F4 to implement an absolute column reference. So that will be a $sign before the E. So with all of this, we're good to go. We hit our enter button and then we copy right down. So that's what we get. So that's what we get. So now we can, or any user can simply click on the down arrow button and choose any of these rates: base rate, min rate, or max rate, and then our model would respond accordingly. So we don't need any of these. We're going to delete them and everything works just fine. Now, there's yet another function that we're going to look at in the upcoming video, the one to come after this, and that will be the choose function. So we'll use the choose function to see how we can build scenarios that we can choose options from, and then our models will respond accordingly. So if you've learned something from this video, well, we're going to be looking at yet more functions that we use in financial modeling. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a nice time. Bye.